It's good soup.
Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Nerd Soup. I am Beau Oliver, joined here today with Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey, and we are back to review House of the Dragon Episode 7, DRIFTMARK. Apologies for my voice, I'm a little under the weather, but this episode was like a nice bowl of chicken noodle soup. Made me feel better for an hour, and then I felt bad again, but I feel good now, because we're talking about it, and I love talking about this show. Very tense episode. Probably the most tense of the season. And I think, once again, those first 5 episodes really did a great job developing Rhaenyra and Alicent. So now seeing them in this older age, defending their children, there's so much bad blood, and so I think that really contributes to a moment like this. Even though we haven't spent too much time with the kids, it's similar to Game of Thrones Episode 2, right? You have that initial spat between Sansa and Arya and Joffrey, but because of the development they did between Ned and Robert, you feel so much tension between both sides. The development between Rhaenyra and Alicent, there's been so much history between them up until this point. And even though it sort of teeters on a reality TV show at times, I still think it was very effective.
I think everything leading up to that big moment was just done so well. Like, the atmosphere of the whole funeral scene I thought was pretty incredible. Yeah, we know the history between a lot of these characters and just how the awkwardness, the silence, and it wasn't something where, I mean, obviously they're there for a funeral of somebody that people cared about, and obviously you're going to be sad, but there was just something else looming over that, all those interactions, and you can see some of the sides start to take shape between the greens and the blacks. So yeah, there was just this sense that something bad was definitely going to happen sooner than later. And when it all culminates into that showdown after the fight with the kids, I thought it was just done wonderfully. And that's such a big moment because you literally see, like, on screen, the sides, the room divided in half between what is to come. So yeah, I think it's definitely one of the better episodes of the seasons, and one that just on rewatch is going to be even better, just to kind of slow it down and kind of these little interactions between these characters, these little looks, like everything was just so perfect, I feel like.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about with this episode, so I'm definitely excited when we get into the spoiler discussion later in the week. And it's just not Aemon's eye, but it's the meaning between all of it. Like you said, the room has become split. This is probably the most divided we've seen the family. And poor Viserys trying to keep everything together. And at this point, he's just yelling at everyone. You know, he's not asking anymore, and nobody listens. This is the most forceful he's been in some time, and Alicent says that's insufficient.
Yeah.
So she challenges him. Alicent's challenging Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra's challenging Alicent. A lot of challenges, and I kind of felt like Daemon in the back, arms crossed, enjoying it all. Like a spectator, like I said, of a reality TV show. And I think the whole season has done a good job of being trashy and soapy without crossing over into that line of making it Jersey Shore. Because at times, it was like, instead of Jersey Shore, it's DRIFTMARK. You know, I was waiting for them to do individual interviews, like Daemon. Man, I can't believe Alicent pulled that knife. I've noticed that she was a young girl. Never seen that.
Cuts to Aegon, it's like, I was just trying to vibe, man. He just wants to drink and jerk off and just separate himself from it, but...
Cuts to Otto. I didn't know Alicent had that dog in her. And her creepy little son, he's got some dog in him too. He's got some dragon.
Just napping.
Just under his blanket.
Oh, man. But yeah, I mean, going back to those interactions at the wedding, I mean, you could tell right away. I mean, Laenor's disconnect from his family. I mean, the looks between Rhaenyra and Alicent. Larys just staring at Alicent to the point where Kristen's like, yo, that strong guy, I don't know if you even know who he is. Just keeps looking at you. She's like, I know who he is.
No, he's cool.
I know what's going on.
He's not cool, but just don't get on his bad side.
So funny at the end of the episode is like, do you want me to get the eye? She's like, no, I don't want you to get the eye, Larys.
He's like Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah.
Just itching to do something. What do you need from me, huh? Anything. I'll do anything.
But yeah, I mean, obviously Daemon is back from Pentos, and you could tell that that's just who Viserys is, just going up to Daemon and just trying to make things right, even though he was banished for the 100th time. But he's still willing to make amends with his brother and kind of have that family connection. But I think, like we talked about, obviously I think he had respect for Laena, but he definitely has not been happy these past however many years. And it is with Rhaenyra that he does find that comfort, and something that I think he's been longing for a while. So I think his presence is just felt in this episode right from the get. Even with the interaction with Viserys, the way he laughs when they're doing the speaking into Valyrian and kind of eulogizing Lena. I think this is something that he is going to finally feel alive again. Even like, I mean, they don't have that in Pentos. When they don't have child fights and queens going to stab princesses. He's loving this shit. But when he had to, he finally stepped in, and I think that's kind of when that picture starts to take shape, because at the end of the day, he does kind of come in with Rhaenyra. Obviously, before that, they shared a moment together. But yeah, it was kind of, I don't want to say nice to see, but it was interesting to see him back in the fold, and him in his relationship with Rhaenyra kind of take that next step.
Yeah, it was Corlys's brother who, when he was eulogizing Lena, hints at the true parentage of Rhaenyra's children. So Daemon just got a kick out of it. He's kind of like me, right? He likes to stir the pot here. Just an irreverent bastard. At his wife's funeral, laughing in front of her parents and shit. Sapochnik, great director, but he struggled with some things here. A lot of people have complained about the lighting. Sure, there's scenes that are, and one of my most infamous defenses is of The Long Night, where I said, that's how it looks. It's a battle at night. There's no artificial sources of light. And I think here it's just squinting at my television, wondering if he could have taken some liberties with the moonlight. It
kind of looked a little cool, like the silhouettes talking and kind of creating that mystery or that intrigue within these characters. But in another way, like I kind of want to see some of the facial expressions and kind of see them emote a little in those moments when they're having that connection.
Yeah, put them under candlelight instead of the beach. I think it works for Aemon. It adds to the fear of trying to claim the biggest dragon in Westeros. It's the middle of the night. There's nobody there to save you, to get you out of this. It's just you and the dragon. So it really puts you in that moment.
The light coming from Dragonfire, I thought was actually really cool. So in some instances, I think it works. In others, I think I would have liked to see these characters kind of make that connection with their facial expressions and emotions.
And some people complain that older Rhaenyra, doesn't have as much chemistry with Daemon. I don't think it was about chemistry. I think it was the way it was directed. Claire Kilner, that scene between Daemon and Rhaenyra, it was directed with such tenderness and intimacy. And I think here it was just two actors kissing. It's something that we've been waiting for, that some fans have been eagerly anticipating, and other fans have not been, because it is incest. I have to bring that up.
I mean, at this point.
But it wasn't as tender. It wasn't as sweet. It was a sort of, we can get married now type of thing once we get rid of Laenor.
I mean, if you're upset about Daemon and Rhaenyra, then just look at Alicent, what she's doing with her literal children, with Helena and Aegon.
Yeah, right. Aemon was, I'm ready. I wish I was you, bro. Gotta keep the bloodlines pure. He's down for the cause, man.
He's been getting fed the Targaryen propaganda.
That distinction is interesting, that Aegon is more the typical kid. Just kind of wants to do his own thing, and Aemon is more concerned about duty and what's the responsible thing. How do you keep the family strong? And Helena's like, I just want to play with my bugs. I don't like any of you.
That is a big moment. I thought that was actually shot really well when he finally claims Vhagar. And
I thought that whole sequence was great.
That was done really well.
Him giving her the commands in Valyrian. It's a moment that he's been waiting for his entire young life. It felt like when Naruto finally masters the summoning jutsu, and he's got his big beast that he needs to hang on to, and you got to control it. It was a rite of passage for a Targaryen prince, and it was very satisfying to see. Even though he's a character that some people are not too fond of already.
Oh, he's a little shithead.
Yeah, he is. But
in that moment, he was actually pretty cool.
Yeah. I love the way Otto later in the episode is like, your little freaky son made a good point.
It's like, first of all, it's
a good trade.
Proud of you.
Yeah.
Way to almost stab that kid's eye out. And your son. Well, the Hightower blood is really...
He could be worst of all.
Yeah.
He could be worse than either of us.
I love him.
Aemon bringing Vhagar to their side, man. Moving like 2011 Pat Riley in the offseason.
That's a big pickup.
Yeah, that's a huge signing.
I mean, Vhagar just letting it, like, at this point, I think she's just, whatever, hop on, kid.
And I felt bad for Baela, but Aemon said, hey, if that was supposed to be your dragon, you should have claimed her.
Facts.
He called dibs on a fucking dragon.
I mean, it's blame Vhagar too. She said yes.
Right?
She was like, hop on.
Thinking Vhagar's in mourning.
Yeah.
I'll never ride with it. Oh, get on. Whatever.
Oh, you're cute.
Yeah, you're a cute little kid. Oh, you got the silver hair. I like that.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite features. No purple eyes though. What the hell?
Dude, that fight was fucking...
Between the kids?
Yeah. They were beating
the shit out of each other.
Piss out of them, yeah.
They jumped him like fucking Stormfront and the boys.
Yeah. They said, hey, he popped up too.
Fucking jump me, man.
I mean, you pulled the knife out. That was a little brutal, but I mean, it was getting out of hand. But I think that's part of Aemon's, like, his whole life being bullied, and we saw it last episode by Jace, by Luke, by Aegon. And now he's probably, well, now I got the biggest dragon, so I bully you now.
Right. He was very mean, though.
No, he was a dick.
And he straight up punched a girl in the face.
Yeah.
Straight up socked her. Like, doink. Right in the nose.
Anyone could get these hands.
Yeah, no, he's just...
But yeah, that comes from probably years of being feeling like he's not, he's less than everybody else because he doesn't have a dragon. And that moment, once he gets the dragon, he's like, fuck you guys.
As soon as he did it, yeah.
I do what I want now.
Right. Man made varsity football and he's walking around with the Letterman. I run this fucking joint now.
And that was, I thought it was like misdirection when he threw the dirt in the eye. I'm like, okay, maybe not yet. And then literally 2 seconds later.
No, yeah. Nice sound effect there. The stitches looked absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
He was a man about it, though. And once again, that line, it was a fair trade.
No, he's a glass half full type of guy.
Somebody made a point that it's not just Viserys, it's his kids now. Just losing body parts left and right.
I mean, Viserys is losing his mind a little, calling Alicent Aemon
Emma.
Yeah,
I think with Alicent in this episode, it's a lot of the resentment that has been building up. You're in this loveless marriage where the guy clearly still has stronger feelings for his first wife. Rhaenyra used to be your best friend, but now, from Alicent's perspective, she's lying to you and she's having affairs and her children are bastards and I've had to make all these sacrifices. So it's really been building up. So when she says, oh, it must be nice to take off the righteous mask and show everybody who you actually are. And it's like, well, yeah, I am this way. I have this side of me. I have the capacity for violence. But it's also something that's been building up. It's also something that, not you specifically, Rhaenyra, but everyone, society, fucking society, once again, has done to me. I've been corrupted in a way. So Otto even says,
Joker.
Otto's like, I didn't know if you were corrupted. I thought maybe you... Like you were too mentally healthy for this.
Yeah.
We couldn't break you, but yeah, no, it looks like you can be broken here. So that moment was like the knives came out, literally.
Yeah. No, I don't had an episode. He obviously shows up in the beginning with the hand of the kingpin. I know,
he likes to, fix his shirt there a little bit.
But yeah, that whole sequence, man. I mean, it's hard to because Alicent basically articulates what we all have been saying about her. Like she's had no choice through any of this, been corrupted from a young age, basically placed in situations where she has her freedom stripped away and she is basically not necessarily a puppet, but she lost some of her, free will or what maybe she wanted to do. And on the other side, like you said, she's jealous of Rhaenyra being able to have these freedoms to do what she wants and be in a position where she doesn't feel like she has to be held captive. And I think for a lot of that, like you said, Alicent, that's just been boiling under her skin for all these years. And at this point in time, especially when she sees her child, without an eye, I think it all just comes to a head here. In her defense, well, not necessarily her defense, but her perspective on these things, it's like nothing she said was, her actions were wrong. You don't take a knife and try to take a child's eye. Personally, I would have let her done it, but that's just me. But
not even Kristen Cole was down with that. He's like, are you nuts? But you think I'm that stupid?
Everything she said, she has been those aren't Rhaenyra's trueborn children. And to her, I think it's just it's like everybody else is crazy. It's like everybody knows, but no one's saying anything. How am I the crazy one for pointing out the fact that those kids are illegitimate and my son should be heir? Yeah,
and she can also interpret that as prophecy coming true. If Rhaenyra's kids take power, they're going to put your kids to the knife. Well, the heir has already done that. He just took out your kid's eye.
No, it's her fears coming to fruition here. Maybe not in the exact circumstances, but you can make those connections if you want.
Yeah, and like King Robert says, children fight. It ended in a gruesome way, but it really was innocent. The kids are jealous that he took the dragon. They got into a little spat. They've been trained with weapons, so maybe sometimes you gotta sheath the weapons, right? But that's what she needed, and they keep giving her these opportunities. That's the thing. They keep leaving paths for Alicent to take. And they did talk about that a little bit. Rhaenyra and Laenor saying that they did try for a kid. But having the 3 kids from Harwin Strong, it's given Rhaenyra, like I said, it's given her something to latch onto.
Yeah.
And you have that line when Viserys is questioning Aegon. He's like, well, Dad, everybody knows. It's just you.
Yeah.
At this point. But Viserys doesn't back down. He's still defending those kids. Even Corlys has that moment with Luke where he says, one day this is going to be passed down to you. So both of them are standing firm when it comes to their family.
Yeah. And I think it's just Alicent's position and like what she has to gone through that. What she had to endure has made her opinion of Rhaenyra so negative. Because, like, on the outside looking in, I don't think Rhaenyra did anything wrong. In this world where everything you do can be dissected and has effects, I think, especially with Alicent, when she's just being fed by her father, that eventually, your children and you will be put to the sword.
Right. And it sucks with Alicent because she's had to follow all the rules of Westerosi customs and culture to a T. So there have been kings, people have talked about this too, that have probably been bastards who have sat on the Iron Throne. They weren't legitimate. But it's, like I said, it's just when you're careless that way and someone else has to be basically picture perfect, it's going to create some tension. Yeah. And Viserys, your son's sitting there without an eye. And he's more concerned about the accusation of the strong, because Aemon calls them both bastards, calls them both strongs.
That was fucking, like, you should be in Harrenhal mourning your father.
Yeah, that was, holy shit. He's a smart kid. He's got some sick burns.
Well, he's a Targaryen.
Well, look at that. Yeah, nice little flame war. But Viserys, like I said, he's more concerned about that rumor than his own children. So that frustrates Alicent as well. That it seems Viserys is, he wants to protect Rhaenyra's kids, and he feels that his kids are, stop fucking with these kids who are younger than you. You guys are sort of putting yourselves in these positions. Even the last episode when Alicent's complaining about them bullying Aemon, and Viserys is like, well, you sure it wasn't Aegon's idea? He knows his kids, but that could be frustrating from Alicent's perspective as well. You don't even have your husband, the father of your children, in your corner in this moment.
Well, even these kids, like Alicent's kids or Rhaenyra's kids, like, it's got to be tough because I don't think, like, the way Jace and Luke have been presented so far have been, like, they're angels. Like, I don't look at them as, like, Bran earlier on, just like, oh, just a regular, nice, normal kid. Like, he was cool. Like, they were down the scrap right away. Like, and even with the bullying last episode, like, I think it's something that they try to establish here and further establish, like, with Laenor saying he wasn't around for these kids, and you could tell there's a disconnect between Aegon and Viserys, like, really no father figure or a secure father figure in their life. Sure, Harwin was probably there, but how much can you be there without raising suspicion?
Well, Laenor, in this episode he says, I haven't been there for them. I should have been teaching them how to be princes of the realm, preparing them to rule one day, because things happen. Both of them could potentially be heirs.
So you see how he affects these kids in both families.
Right.
Like, there's no Ned Stark there, who is going to be just an honorable, true, good father.
Although Rhaenyra does feel more motherly towards her children. There's a coldness that I think Alicent feels towards her kids, because I think she sees in them the resentment that has been building. Oh, no, they're sort of the physical embodiments of everything she's had to endure.
No, I agree. And I think Laenor is Laenor and Harwin are both, like, good people and tried their best. But, like, at the end of the day, it's not an ideal situation.
No, it's not.
By the way, it was so funny when... I don't know if it's intentional, but I think the show low-key tries to be intentionally funny sometimes.
I think so, too.
When Laenor comes in and is like, oh, is everybody all right? And it just cuts to Jace, and he just has his fucking nose busted.
Yes, and she's getting those nasty stitches done. No, we're fine. I laughed out loud when he's like, I should have been there. And she goes, those should be our house words. And then the man gives just a skip to the end. He gives this whole speech about how he's going to be more present. Give me another chance, baby. And she's like, you know what? I'm going to buy you out of your contract. Let's send you over to Essos. Fake your death here. Little change from the books, because although people have been reading into some theories about certain characters who are going to appear later, but I thought that was interesting. And I think we failed to, this is why I think the diversity of perspectives is important, but we failed to acknowledge how Laenor feels about, you get the freedom of having your lovers, but you're still living in the shadows.
Sure.
You're not openly living as yourself. So in this episode, he says, I wish the gods had made me differently. That there is sort of this insecurity he has about his sexuality, and that it's something that he struggles with, even though he's had this quasi-freedom over the last 10 years. It's not like he could just be open and I'm going to marry a man, he's going to be my husband, we'll have a family. So he's sort of struggled with his identity as well, and I think that makes him a bit of a tragic character. And it's why he's become this sort of wandering, aimless man. In the beginning of the episode, he's just standing in the ocean, thinking back, obviously mourning his sister, but thinking, what is my role in all of this, and how have I failed? What are my mistakes? And it's not all his fault, It's one of those where you want to give him a hug. And I think Rhaenyra does that for him in this episode, when he says, I wish the gods had made me differently. And she says, you're the one of the only honorable people I know.
Yeah, I think with it, like, it too, like, that, by the way, that whole, like, ending sequence was pretty wild, because it went from, like, I liked the idea of Rhaenyra being just as ruthless and making that line of green and black so much more confusing for people.
Right.
Because I think that would have been fucking hilarious to go on Twitter later and be like, who the hell am I rooting for now?
Yeah, right.
Because they are both fucking terrible people.
No, I thought they straight up were planning to kill Laenor. I was like, holy shit.
The way they were talking just so casually, like, it's just business. Like, I thought that would have been fucking... I mean, I like Laenor, but it would have been kind of fucking gangster too. But it was nice to see it. I think everyone kind of works out in the end for everybody, because obviously Daemon and Rhaenyra can be happy, Laenor and Qarl can be happy. For the parents, maybe not, because they just think both their children are dead. So it kind of sucks for them.
I know, poor Rhaenys.
And Corlys, yeah.
Yeah, Corlys too. Rhaenys seemed a bit more broken up about it.
Well, he's like, they both are probably distraught,
yeah,
seeing their presumed son being burned in a pit. But, like, I think when they have that conversation earlier in the episode about what's more important to them, and Corlys is very much, the family name. He doesn't really care that these kids might be strong, but they'll have the Velaryon name. And Rhaenys is like, wait, and like, no, like, it's our family here. That's our blood. So for them,
she feels a little guilty about Laena's death and wants to pass on DRIFTMARK to her eldest daughter. And Corlys, once again, defending Jace and Luke, that history doesn't care who's your actual father. They don't care about blood, they only care about names. So if we back them up, that's all they sort of need.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting perspective on things. I think, when we talked about how Rhaenys and Corlys being on the same page, I think, we dive a little bit deeper into that relationship and maybe some of the things that they struggle with. Corlys trying to help Rhaenys get that crown back. Sure, that sounds all well and good, but the reason why he's doing it maybe doesn't just align with Rhaenys.
Yeah, and we haven't gotten many scenes with Corlys and Rhaenys in private, but I think those moments have been very effective. Important insight. It feels like a retread of the first scene we got of them in private 10 years prior, when they're setting up that marriage, talking about Rhaenys losing that crown and Corlys wanting to win it back for her. And even though I think there's a genuine love, it's a little bit of sexism as well, that I'm going to be your knight in shining armor, I'm going to win back the crown that you lost. And she's like, bro, I've been over this for like 15 years now. That's how long this show's been going on.
Yeah.
So, and he's like, but what if I do win it back? You'd still wear it, right?
Are we team green or black? Come on, just tell us.
Right. So I think those scenes have been effective. And, the change in the books, Laenor dying suspiciously. Every suspicious death was attributed to Daemon. And now it's like, maybe
enough.
one. Right, yeah. He loves rocking that hood, looking like Kermit the Frog. But yeah, he survives. He's 100% going to come back.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Because if he's presumed dead in the books, I think it's just an easy, like a way where
nice little escape.
You get a story for a happy ending, for a character for a change, and it doesn't affect anything going forward. So I just think him and Qarl go off to Essos and live their best life.
I would be happy for them, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, Game of
Seasmoke
Thrones...
too. Seasmoke and the parents. Big losers in this situation.
Hey, Mom takes him too. 2 dragons, bitch. Yeah, I think Game of Thrones people have pointed this out, that a lot of the prominent LGBT characters normally are killed off. So we saw it earlier in the season with Joffrey, and that scene was a little controversial, I think, because they set up their relationship to be so sweet and loving, and then he brutally dies.
Right.
So I think that was on their mind, that we'll give Laenor the happiest sort of ending you can get in this world.
It's either that, or they don't want to paint Daemon out to be a total bastard. Or Rhaenyra. Because I think,
bro, at that point I was like, damn.
That's why I was like, kind of like, obviously, like I said before, like I like Laenor, I don't want him to die, but like
from a storytelling
the
point,
implications for Rhaenyra and the utter confusion people would have trying to decide what side is the right side, I think that would have been fucking awesome. But obviously Rhaenyra is like And I think Rhaenyra is probably the best character in the show so far, and just the one that you want to root for, because obviously when you look at the other side, I say Team Green because I do love antagonists and I do love the drama and how they drive the story. But like, if you're gonna tell me I'm Team Olivia Cook, if anything. But like in this scenario, it's like obviously Rhaenyra is the good guy, and I'm going to align with her and want to see them succeed, even though I think Team Green is basically every reason for interesting plot development is coming because of them, and I can appreciate that and enjoy it. It's not like a Jacob Edward thing where like you're just both like two decent people. I'm like, maybe, it's Edward, but like it's still like a tough choice. It's like one like, super bad guys and one good guys. So I think black is kind of the way to go here. But I think
if that move was made by Rhaenyra to kill Laenor, that paints her in a totally different light. It changes the show entirely. Then
it's just like, I think people would be utterly confused. And I think especially if even if it wasn't Rhaenyra's move, it was Daemon's, like you're still rooting for a character or a team that has... I think Daemon fans would still probably find a way to spin zone that the way they have been for every other despicable action he's done.
Certain characters just get a pass. Doesn't matter what they do. It's because he's so swaggy. But you see the Pornhub searches?
Yeah.
Everyone wants step-uncle porn. Yeah. Or just uncle porn.
Yeah, it's not a step-uncle here.
No, he's just the actual uncle.
But I think they want to paint him as someone who's matured. Maybe in the past he would have resorted to just brutal murder, but now he's like, there's other ways to go about this.
He had a murderous tone in his voice. Even when it's not murder, it just makes it sound...
It's like, no, we don't have to kill him. Okay, we'll just,
We'll take his tongue out, right?
Yeah. Well, him and Carl will get into Essos, and then we'll have someone in Essos kill him.
Right, yeah.
No, Daemon, come on. I like this guy. All right. So quick to violence in this world.
Loras is like, hey, Daemon, I'm on your side. I get it.
I'm Team Green and all, but like, if you need me to murder, I'll do the murder.
Loras is willing to kill anyone at any moment. That is a powerful and dangerous ally to have. You gotta make sure you're keeping him on the leash. He is like a rabid dog, the looks that he was giving Alicent.
You saw the photo shoot.
That is true. Maybe he did see the photo shoot. He was like, holy shit, I'm imagining her in Fenty. I can't believe they shipped to Westeros. That's crazy. Yeah, and, Daemon and Viserys had that conversation where, once again, Viserys trying to bring him back into the fold, and Daemon saying, I don't need anything. Stop trying to big bro me. Look how cruel the gods have been to you. Viserys is like, yeah, no, they have, you fucking dick. Thanks for pointing that out. Their back and forth is always funny.
Obviously, they get married, and those poor kids. It's like, obviously they didn't kill Laenor, but it looks like they killed Laenor. And they even talked about it. It's like, people are going to think that we had something to do with it. And he's like, well, let them think, Rhaenyra's like, and yeah, they'll fear us for that too. It's like, that was like a very calculated, mischievous plot.
That was a Littlefinger plot.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I called Littlefinger a poet in the last episode.
But them going over the pros and cons and everything, yeah. But then you realize that they don't actually kill. And I think when you see Daemon, and that guy, he's another loser in this situation. Poor guy, he just murders.
Oh yeah, that is true. Yeah, that guy did just get murdered.
And Carl, for a second, I was gonna be more upset than Carl the whole thing.
Right, that he was on board with it for a second.
So at least Daemon and Rhaenyra have something to gain, but Carl, where's your loyalty at? But ended up being a nice guy, Carl.
Fucking Sir Carl. Such a funny name to have in this world. Sir Carl Corey. He had two basic ass names.
But yeah, they get married. The kids are probably like, what the hell is going on? And I wonder how Rhaenys and Corlys are going to react, because I think obviously with their grandchildren being a part of that family, but also I think in the back of their head, they're like, they literally just got married right after. What the fuck?
Yeah. And that ceremony was, apparently it was in the old Valyrian tradition, very bloody, cutting each other, literally uniting themselves in blood.
You already have the same blood, guys.
I know.
No need.
I don't know if there's going to be any complications from that, but now it's undeniable. They are together as husband and wife, prince consort, and it does help her solidify her claim, because Daemon is a man of reputation throughout the Seven Kingdoms. It's not all good rep, but it's also not all bad. He's known as the rogue prince, and sometimes you need a little bit of that on your side. You need a little nasty. So it's going to be tricky for her to secure her claim, of course, with Alicent and her children growing older. So Daemon becomes a very valuable ally. And it's, like she says, it's sort of destiny. for the two of them. They were always meant to be together in some way, shape, or form, and now it is formal. And that's something, like I said, fans were anticipating it, other fans weren't anticipating it because of the implications, but it was meant to be between the two of them. Like you mentioned, Daemon feels the most comfortable with Rhaenyra, and Rhaenyra says to him, "You sort of left me high and dry here. I've had to fend for myself. Look how complicated things have become without your presence," which is an interesting thing to say to Daemon, who's always stirring shit up.
He's the glue that holds the realm together.
He's the one holding the realms together.
Yeah.
So now he's back, Mr. Glue, like Travis Scott. But like I said, I think that scene could have been more skillfully directed, especially when you look at the scenes between Rhaenyra and Daemon in episode 4, and the scene between Rhaenyra and Kristen Cole. I think they were shot more romantically. I think Claire Kilner had a better eye for scenes like that. Sapochnik, like I said, he's got his skills as a director, but I think he definitely struggled a little bit with that scene in order to convey the infatuation and passion of them finally coming together. It felt like there should have been more to that moment. Yeah. Even the sex scene, it's sort of a montage. Them kissing and unraveling their clothes, and they're together, they're holding tight. Just wasn't as passionate as the previous sex scenes.
Yeah, but I think he makes, like, the initial funeral scene and then that scene.
Oh, yeah. The funeral scene was so... Well, the music, the score, It all brought this daunting, looming atmosphere to every move. It's a place that you wouldn't want to be. Even between the kids, you know, when it looks like Aemon's going to comfort Jace a little bit about Harwin, but that sort of confirms that he knows about Jace, so he's holding back there. It's like he's being empathetic towards him, like he's protecting him almost in that moment, and then they have that fucking spat. But the glances between Rhaenyra and Alicent, that look Alicent gives her with Kristen Cole behind her, so good, so well directed.
Yeah, it's one of like the main promotional stills that they used. Yeah, and even in that scene when they're all in the room together, when they're being questioned about what happened, I think that was very well done as well. Him blaming Aegon right away. He's just Aegon's a little shit too, but I kind of like respect him in his like, I don't care about any of this.
No,
I want to go play video games.
Right, yawning during the funeral.
He gives me like very much, "Mom, I'm live streaming" vibes. But like he just wants to like drink, and you know he doesn't care about anything. You know, at that age, that's kind of cool.
Viserys saying we're a family. You don't even believe that, bro.
The sides are literally being taken
split in
right
half,
in front of you. I did like too, and Alicent's like, "Go over there and give me the kid's eye," and Kristen's like, I'm like your royal. I'm just like your guard."
Listen, yeah, that's not in my job description.
You're sworn to me, like, yeah, as your royal protector.
Well, Sir Harold Westerling gave him that look. If you move, I'm going to move too. And Daemon is the one who stops Sir Kristen when Kristen does try and get involved there. Because I guess when Alicent puts herself in a vulnerable position, Kristen feels he needs to act. So it kind of gives, that's sort of her shield, right? If she makes a move, he has no choice but to move with her.
Well, even the way he talks to like his superiors, like you could tell like he has something.
He disrespected the king a little bit there.
He did.
Yeah.
I think he has that Alicent shield. Like he protects her, but she protects him more than I think he does her.
Viserys is starting to...
She gets away with fucking everything.
No, she straight up grabbed the knife off of the king. She grabbed Cat's paw.
It's treason.
That's what Rhaenyra kept saying. How many treasonous acts did she commit in this episode?
Like 5 in one swift movement.
She almost literally killed Rhaenyra.
Telling the king to go fuck himself, stealing a knife, trying to stab the prince's eye out, and then stabbing the princess.
Yeah, that's 5, I think. They always throw that back and forth, though. It's like Democrats and Republicans always trying to impeach each other.
Treason.
That was a nasty cut, too, man. A lot of blood in this episode.
Yeah, Valyrian steel freaks me out.
I know. Nasty-ass stitches. And week to week, it's easy to lose sight of how good Paddy Considine is because he's just so consistently convincing as this character. And you can argue that this is probably his finest acting of the season so far. A great job by Sapochnik as well, being able to keep the audience's attention with so many things happening, so many different characters and perspectives. But once again, it's Paddy Considine who acts as the acting glue, who he just grounds every scene into this disturbing and tragic reality through his performance. I just think he's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, that was a lot of people were wondering from the trailers what was the context behind that scene, and I think it ended up being a very effective scene, especially that one angle where it feels like Alicent's got Rhaenyra on the floor when Rhaenyra says, "Now they see you as you are." You know, she's holding her back and it switches from behind Alicent's shoulder. it is her taking some initiative in that moment, and that's what makes Otto so proud. That, yeah, we play an ugly game, but you may have the determination to win it, which was a great line from the trailer come to life. And Corliss had a few of his trailer lines as well, so I was highly anticipating those.
Otto was spitting.
Otto was spitting. He was so impressed with his weird little kid. So yeah, no, the sides are, now they're officially drawn. I mean, they're calling each other greens and blacks, so the color indicators are there for everyone to know. So it's become dangerous territory depending on which side you're on.
No, it's like sports.
I was going to go Bloods and Crips, but...
So what team do you want to win? Oh, the black team.
Yeah, right. But that whole back and forth did have the vibes of two Karens fighting over their kids, right? Take an eye. Well, you take an eye. I'll take an arm. Take a leg. They had a response for everything, Rhaenyra and Alicent. So that's why it teetered on the line of reality TV. It got a little goofy there. But I think that the whole season has had a lot of that, and it's effective because of all the character development you got between Rhaenyra and Alicent. So like I said, the resentment that Alicent has been feeling, the tension that Rhaenyra feels coming off of Alicent, radiating off of her every move and every word. So it's one of those just explosive Goku Frieza moments, you know, both of their Kamehameha, whatever Frieza used to do, just coming to head.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought of.
A lot of anime references in this episode. For me, at least. And also, you know, I wanted to make this point quick before I forget. The reason why the soap opera-y elements of the show work is because the acting is so strong. This ensemble is absolutely stacked. And I think Olivia Cook in this episode was fantastic. The way she was able to convey the emotion she was feeling, all of it just boiling over through her face, the tears streaming down. And Emma Darcy as well. They've brought so much, they've got like a hypnotic quality to them when they speak as this character. You just want to listen to Rhaenyra, older Rhaenyra. So I think they've both been so great in these roles, and like I said, the entire ensemble was fantastic this episode.
Yeah, they've been great in a role, and I think, you know, I think by now, I think a lot of people are warmed up to the idea of these just new actors in these roles.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So
well, Alicent too, man. You can make the argument she is the most fascinating character in the show because of how complicated she is. There's so many layers to peel back when you're talking about her. And I think a lot of fans aren't giving her enough benefit of the doubt. I'm not saying you have to root for her, but acknowledge all the elements and all the layers that are there, because there's a lot.
I can argue she's the best character in the show so far.
I think so.
I mean,
you really can.
Between her, Rhaenyra, I think Larys is very interesting. Viserys, I think, is just a great presence.
He's my favorite.
Yeah. And Daemon, I think, if you want to talk top fives, I think that's, you know, you could throw Otto in there, maybe on the outside looking in, but as far as complex characters that drive the narrative, I mean, Alicent and Rhaenyra are easily at the top. And it makes sense because they are the two leads, but I think they've just, that's not necessarily always the case. So for them to be two most prominent characters, be this effective, and have people either latch on or despise them the way they have, I mean, they're doing a great job.
All right, guys, that does it for this review of House of the Dragon Episode 7 Driftmark. We will be back later in the week for our spoiler discussion, and I think that's going to be fun. Teddy's going to bring a lot of funny observations and points, as he always does, and we'll get a little bit more in depth in this episode. A lot happened, so I'm sure there's some scenes and moments that we'll catch on rewatch and discuss further, but good episode. Really excited for these final three.
Yeah, same.
Cool. Alright guys, that does it for this video. Thank you for joining us for this review. For Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey, I am Beau Oliver. Before we sign off, I want to quickly spotlight our weekly podcast, the Nerd Soup Podcast, published every Wednesday at noon. Every week, you could join myself, Aaron, Teddy, and the rest of the Nerd Soup crew as we discuss the hottest stories in movies and TV, equipped with some off-the-cuff commentary on the world of pop culture, while also providing extended reviews for the movies and shows we love. You can subscribe to our podcast channel on YouTube at the Nerd Soup Podcast, which can also be found on our Nerd Soup homepage, and you can listen to episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and all of the podcasting platforms we publish to. Thank you again for joining us on this review, and we will be back next week to review Episode 8.
Wow, that was probably our best review yet. Hey guys, Aaron the Nerd Soup Monkey here with a brief shameless plug before we end the video. Do you ever feel like you don't have an adequate amount of nerd soup in your life? Like you're going to bed hungry and yearning for the nonsensical yet entertaining nutrients our podcasts provide? Well, we've come up with the perfect solution. The Nerd Soup Fan Question Podcast, exclusively available to our Patreon supporters. You can sign up now by visiting patreon.com/nerdsoup, and for the price of only $1 per month, you'll receive exclusive access to our weekly podcast where we answer your questions that don't make it to the main show. And while you're there, you can check out the other rewards we offer to our patrons, like stickers, mugs, t-shirts, behind-the-scenes footage, and appearing in the credits at the end of our videos. And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. Roll the names of the nerds who make Nerd Soup possible. The reason why the crypto crash didn't send our lives spiraling down a black hole of no return. Alright, I'll stop talking so you can listen to this jazzy-ass music while checking if Beau spelt your name wrong in the credits.